Hi, my name is Reagan, and my partners are Will and Min, and this is our Engineering 450 project, Car Shop Work Center Improvement. Just to go over what this presentation will look like, we'll go over the general overview of our problem statement, kind of outline the traditional method and the new method, which we'll explain later. We'll go over the work area design, the anthropometry, time studies, visualization of operations, which will include several of our charts, cost-benefit analysis, and then we will show our final results and conclusion. So just as an overview, a local car shop that specializes in tire rotations has had an increasing demand and is considering investing in new equipment to keep up. They're considering investing in a car lift, a tire rack on wheels so you can push it around, and a torque drill, which we'll just refer to as a power drill throughout this presentation. And we wish to know the impact that these items will have on the productivity, safety, and workshop clutter/cleanliness. Our team provided a cost-benefit analysis by analyzing all the different areas of impact that these tools would provide. So just to go over the first two methods, the original or traditional method is the floor jack and regular wrench, which you can see up here in this top right picture, as well as the jack stands. The key features on this, everything involved in lifting the car and placing the jack stands is done manually. So in order to do the time studies and to kind of, gauge our study, we found a video online that we kind of based everything off of as far as the traditional method of rotating tires, which here you'll just see a short demonstration of someone who's pretty skilled at it performing one. And we're not going to show you the whole thing, but just to give you an example. So he's loosening them now. He would then jack it up, place the jack stand, and then repeat multiple times to get all four of the tires off. Key features, obviously this is a longer process when you have to manually jack up the car and place the jack stands. You're bending over a lot more, which is going to place more strain on the body, specifically the lumbosacral joint or the L5, L1 joint. And this requires moving your equipment in non-optimal ways, such as rolling the floor jack all the way around the car several times and having to place and remove the jack stands several times. So for the new method, we propose the car lift and torque wrench. So rather than manually using the wrench to remove the wheels and manually jacking the car up, initially you'll drive the car onto the car lift, it'll be lifted, and then you don't have to repeat several steps multiple times. So again, significantly shorter process, less strain on the body because the wheels will be at the chest level, so you won't have to bend up to remove and place the wheels. And it requires less overall bending over because you won't have to roll the wheels around the car. You can place them on the wheel rack or the tire rack, as well as the drill itself, and just wheel that whole thing around, which again, you can push at waist level rather than having to bend over. Here's a video that we took just to gauge how long it takes to get the car up to the optimal level. And as you can see, I believe it's right around 11 seconds. So we'd pause it right there. That's pretty much the level we'd want. So right at 13 seconds, which is significantly less than jacking the car up, and you only have to do it once versus 4 times with the other method. So now we have two Simio models, kind of just outlining what our shop looks like. So the new method has the car lift, has the wheel rack, our individual, which you can see here in a 3D model. And this is the only wheel rack we could get here, or tire rack. However, ours would be a little higher, so you wouldn't have to bend over to put the wheels on the ground. When you remove them from the wheel well of the car, you can place it directly on the rack as well as the drill, and then push the whole thing around to the other side to exchange tires. Then for the old traditional method, you can see there's more tools. There's the floor jack, there's the jack stands, and you would have to jack up one side, place a jack stand, remove the wheel, go all the way around to the other side, repeat the process, put the old wheel on, go back around, and the whole time you're doing this, you're going to have to move these items around the car, and that creates one, a lot more time, and then two, a lot more strain on the employee. So just breaking down the work area design and kind of the benefits that you'd see from upgrading to the car lift and eliminating the floor jack. The first would be space. The car lift raises the vehicle to shoulder height, which provides the area underneath the vehicle to maneuver around the shop. So when the car is not on the ground, again, you can go under it safely. That's not an issue. Tire rack also provides a designated area for the wheels to be stored between rotations. So when you remove tire at the front left and you need to put on the back right, rather than setting it on the ground and rolling it all the way over there and then going back for your tools, you can place the tire directly on the rack, place your tool on the rack as well, and push the entire item around. As far as clutter, again, having the wheels and the power drill on that rack for easy transportation is a lot less clutter. And then by adding the car lift, we remove the floor jack and the jack stands, which take out more items as well. As far as safety goes, the lift is a lot more reliable than the floor and jack stands, or than the floor jack and jack stands. When the car's up on that lift, it's not going anywhere. There's always a chance that when you place that jack stand manually, that there's room for operator error and the car could slip, or you could place it wrong, which could result in injury. And then also, which is not mentioned here, just the less wear and tear on the body from not having to bend over all the way to the ground constantly, not having to bend over to wheel the wheels around and move that extra equipment is going to save the operator a lot of energy and strain on that L5, L1 joint that we talked about earlier. As far as visual appearance goes, when you have customers coming in to get their wheels rotated, a nice looking shop is definitely more appealing and will encourage them to come back. So having this floor lift and just the better standardized equipment will definitely make the shop have a much better appearance. Now I'm going to pass it over to Will to talk about the anthropometrics on the traditional floor jack method and the new.
Okay, so we got this nice diagram from McGraw-Hill, and it kind of suited our needs. Just imagine the box being a tire, and so you're really bending over to pick up that tire basically at the ground level, and you still have good form, but when you're squatting, you're really putting a lot more strain on that lumbosacral joint. So then really what we want to do is calculate the torque on this lumbosacral joint, which is shown in the picture here. So if we go to the new car lift method, actually I'll go back really quick and just note that we have distances in the center. We have 10 centimeters, 30 centimeters, 25 centimeters, and 45 centimeters. And note that these distances aren't necessarily exactly proportionate to the picture. This picture was just on the internet and gave a good visual representation of what we wanted to achieve. But as you'll see in the next slide, the proportions are a little bit off. We also have our head weight, trunk weight, arm weight, and wheel weight, and those are really, we found those on the internet, and we'll show you our source for that later. So for the new car lift method, you're only bending over slightly to pick the tire up, putting it onto the tire rack. And this is a lot easier than having to bend all the way down when your car is a lot higher off the ground, as Reagan showed in the models before. And notice that our new distances are 0, 15, 5, and 30, which are significantly less because there's a lot of less bending and reaching. And again, we want to calculate the torque on the lumbosacral joint. So at this time, I'm going to demonstrate the torque MATLAB code, and this will show the torques on that lumbosacral joint for both of our methods, and as you'll be able to see, the significance between the two methods.
And then just to elaborate a little more on why we chose these numbers. So on the first one for the traditional, obviously you can see that the 30 centimeters here is shorter or is longer than the 25, which is not what is pictured here. However, if you could imagine this, we would assume this individual is in a full squat, removing the wheel from the ground. So we're going to keep him pretty much in this position. However, his arms are going to have to be extended out a little further, which is why we changed this number here to 30, because in order to remove that tire when he's in that squat, his arms are going to have to reach out further than he is now. And then on the next method, we're assuming he's basically standing up because that wheel is going to be at chest level, which is why this back distance here is going to be directly over that joint, so there won't be any tension there created because he'll be standing straight up. And then the arms will not have to be extended out as far, since you don't have to kind of bend over to pick the wheel up. You can just extend your arms out and pull it straight off with a straight back. So that's why there's the difference between the 30 and the 15.
So here we have our code for torques, and as you can see from the top, we have different percentages of the body, and that is on our references slide. That is where we found these percentages. So our head percentage is around 8%, whole trunk percentage is around 55%, and total arm percentage is around 5.7%. So the average weight for a male, we just picked that, is 74, and the average weight of a wheel is around 21 pounds. And we have our gravity constant of 9.81. So the force of the wheel, we have our average wheel weight, and we multiply that by 0.454 times gravity, and this is because wheel is in pounds, so we want to convert it to the kilograms in order to get newtons. And then we have our head force, which is our average weight times our head percentage times gravity. We did the same thing for trunk and arm. And now that we have all of our forces in newtons, we can go ahead and go down here to distances. So our old distances, if you recall the charts that we just showed, we have 45 for the wheel, 25 for the head, 10 for the trunk, and 30 for the arm. And as previously stated, these distances were significantly decreased. As you can see, the trunk distance is now 0. It's just right above that lumbosacral disc, or I'm sorry, lumbosacral joint. And now that we have all of our distances and our forces, we can come up with the torques, which are simply our force times our distance. So as you can see, we have here the sum of the torques in newtons per centimeter, or newton centimeter, and then we have the sum of the torques in newton meter, and the same thing goes for our torque improved, newton centimeter, and again newton meter. And when we run this, as you can see, the torque on that lumbosacral joint, or L5, L1 joint, is around 109 for our old method, and it's around 37 for our new method. So as you can see, this is in newton meters. That is a significant drop to the new method, and this will put a lot less strain on your back, and will provide a lot more safety when working here. So those are our some torques and how that works.
And then now we will pass to Min to go over the time study. Oh, just kidding. Will continue with the time studies.
So here we have the time study for our traditional method, and we'll show the time study for our new method in just a second. But significant steps here are jacking up the car and applying the jack stand, and that happens 4 different times. Also moving the jack stand around the car. There are a lot more steps, as previously mentioned, with this traditional method, mainly with the jacks and the stands for the car to hold it up. And moving that around the car is very significant. So notice that we have 12 minutes here in 9 seconds, whereas opposed to this new method, we have 5 minutes and 50 seconds. But again, all we're doing here is lifting the car up. We don't have to worry about the jack and lifting the car up and putting it on the stands, and things such as that. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Min, and he's going to show all of our different charts.
All right, hi, so I'm Ming. So I'm going to talk about the visualization of the operations. So we have 3 types of charts that we include in this project. The first one is the operational charge, the second one is the activity, and the final one is the precedence charge. So for the operational charge, this chart is show graphically and symbolic representation of the activities that we're performing, and this is our traditional method. As you can see, there are 2 inspections at the beginning to check the rotation pattern and to check the ground surface of the area. And also there will be 39 activities, or you can call it operations. And compared to our new methods, they only have 24 operational. And this charge will help like new employee to understand more about the process, and yes, make it easier for worker to do their job. The second second charge is the activity charge. This is on the operational based on a time scale, and you can see for the traditional method, it takes 12 minutes, more than 12 minutes to complete a tire rotation, and it includes a lot of hardworking job like rolling the wheel, and it takes a lot of time compared to the new method when you have to press the button to lift the car and only do it once, and so the time reduced significantly according to the charge. And the second one is the precedent charge. So basically this charge show the relationship between operations, and here is our ID of the job, and then the job descriptions, and also this is the precedence or activity or relationship between the job. So as you can see, they loosen the nuts, like you have to apply backstop first. So for example, like they will need to finish one in order to do two, or for number 12, which is place wheel 1 into the back right position, you have to finish remove wheel 2, which is remove the wheel from the back right position, and also roll wheel 1 from left to the position. So this is basically how we view the precedent charge, and all the information in that is included in here. And so for the new method, as you can see, the precedent charge is much smaller because we have less operations, and then yeah, just the same thing for the layout of the charge, and it's very nice graphically, so employee can understand the job better and do the job better. So I will move on to our economical cost analysis. So this cost analysis is determining whether the new method is worth pursuing financially. So we assume that because at the beginning we assume that we are having a higher demand, so that's why we need to have a new tool to increase our productivity. So I would just say that our customer will keep on going. And then so here the price of the rotation is 25 for both traditional or new, and then the number of rotation per hour for the traditional is only 3, but for the new is 5. So you can see it's almost double the traditional one. And because so for the time study, it takes 12 minutes to complete a tire rotation, but we will assume that the employee we have to rest and all the ideal time, and then hour per day is still 8. And as you can see, we just timed that, and we have a revenue per day for the traditional is 600, and the new with the car lift is 1,000, and the working days per year is 261. So our revenue per year is for the traditional is $156,600, and for the new for the car lift is like $261,000. And then we'll include in the price of the lift for the is 6,000. We find this information in this website, and we put it here for you to see. And then also the price of the tire rack and the drill is 600. And after calculation, the revenue for the first year is higher, significantly higher for the new car lift. As you can see, the traditional one is only $156,600, and for the car lift is $254,400. So I think that is the lift is easily paid for itself in just 1 year. And I will pass to Reagan to complete the conclusion.
So in conclusion, we believe the new method involving the car lift, tire rack, and power drill will definitely be better for the company across many different areas. The first of which is safety, as we touched on with the anthropometrics, and just removing the unneeded items from the area, putting the car up on the lift so people can move underneath it, and removing that risk of the car falling off the jacks, and the human error aspect. Significant improvement in that area. Clutter is pretty straightforward. We're eliminating the jack stands and the jack itself. We're putting in a wheel rack, making it look much more organized. Space, again, removing those items similar to clutter, gives you much more room to move around, and as well as having the car up on the lift allows you to move underneath it as you please. Visually, taking all of these things into account that I just said, the shop will look a lot nicer, look a lot cleaner, much more professional and appealing to clients. And profit, as we mentioned in the cost-benefit analysis, yes, it will take a significant investment in order to purchase these items. However, if you can increase the amount of wheel rotations you're doing a day across X amount of days, you will definitely see improvement in profit. So overall, we recommend that they invest and make these additions to their shop. Thank you.